Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults.
And beer.
And beer. That's right. This is episode 15, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah. It might actually be episode 16.
Yeah, it could be 16. Who knows?
Right,
we'll figure
it's
that
15
out.
or 16. So, next week you're either going to hear Joseph Paul Franklin or the Night Stalker Richard Ramirez, which is what we were recording right now. We'll get it squared away. So, anyway, don't worry, that episode's not a debacle like BTK or anything like that. We just had issues with the recording of it, and we had to go redo a couple things and stuff like that, just because of technical issues. And honestly, what we corrected, I think it turned out to be a better product than what
turned out better. Yeah, definitely.
So that's definitely good. Anyway, that is Todd.
And that is Bill.
Yeah, and like I said, we're covering the Night Stalker Richard Ramirez tonight. And
Yes.
What are you drinking?
Bud Light. I went easy today.
Oh, are you going to get back to the snooty stuff?
Yeah, well, I was drinking that when we redid the part the other last night, but that stuff was like
but
it's like 8.2% alcohol. Man, that shit kicked my ass.
Yeah, but we couldn't exactly say that because we were recording the second half of the episode.
Yeah,
that episode's going to wind up being like 3 hours, maybe even longer.
Probably.
So, anyway, I'm drinking Bud Light as well, and I'm ready.
It's a Bud Light kind of night.
Bud Light kind of night. I like that. Bud Light kind of night. They need to market that. You should do a poor man's copyright on that. Actually, once we get this episode done, that'll be your timestamp. You got to offer it to them. It's a Bud Light kind of night.
Sounds like a country song.
It'd be a better slogan than this Miller Lite billboard that I see on the turnpike. It says, "Miller Lite, a beer you want to have a beer with."
A beer you want to have a beer with.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah. Anyway.
So sources, there's a couple of them. Obviously Wikipedia, and there's that special that they did on the Night Stalker on Netflix. It came out in 2021. It's called Night Stalker: The Hunt for a Serial Killer. And Richard Ramirez comes up in American Horror Story season 5 and season 9, and I haven't seen American Horror Story. It kind of lost me after the first season or whatever, and that's kind of like a show that I want to go back and watch because they did like a whole season on the Cecil Hotel, which Richard Ramirez stayed in.
Yeah.
And from what I understand now, they're doing Freddy Krueger's origin story.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm interested.
Yeah, I might. I mean, I never really got into that show, but I don't know. I might have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I don't think that season's been released yet. I think that's going to be the next season. But it's, I'm definitely interested. We already know what happened with Freddy Krueger because of that shitty ass remake that they did. But it might be cool to see him, to see what they come up with for that particular season of American Horror Story.
Yeah, that'd be different. I mean, the remake of the movie, I mean, it wasn't great, but I thought Jackie Earle Haley did a pretty good job. I like him.
Was he the guy that played Freddy?
Yeah.
I disagree.
You didn't like it?
Nah, there's only one person that can play Freddy, and that's Robert Englund.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I didn't think it was awful. I mean, the movie was bad because it was just bad.
Right. Well, one thing that I got to give credit where credit is due on that. At least they didn't try to make him that Freddy out to be a smartass or anything like that. Yeah, because that would not have worked.
Yeah. I only watched that movie like one time, and
yeah, same here.
And whatever. I like Jackie Earle Haley. I thought he was great as Rorschach and Watchmen, but
I'll tell you what, Nightmare on Elm Street movie that I did like that gets a bad rap, and that would be Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I thought that movie was really good.
Yeah, that one was a good one.
Yeah. The first, second, and third ones were great. The fourth one was okay, and then the rest of them were kind of eh. And then they came out with Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I'm like, okay, that movie was really good. So
yeah.
Anyway, hashtag, but I digress.
Yes.
So, Richard Ramirez, here we go. February 29th, 1960, he's born in El Paso. His parents were Julian and Mercedes. And he had a sister. He had a sister and he had a sister and two brothers. He had sister Ruth, and then his brothers Joseph and Reuben. Julian, earlier in his life, he was a cop in Juarez, and it's reported that he had anger issues. And I can imagine if you're a cop in Juarez, I mean that place.
Well, yeah.
Have you ever been through El Paso and seen Juarez?
No, I haven't, but I've heard things.
Yeah, it looks scary. I mean, it's just, and there's the fence right freaking there, and next, I-10 runs right next to the fence, and you can just, that scene in The Punisher, where he goes to El Paso and up on top of a building and sniper shots, this guy who was in, this cartel member that was in Juarez. It's accurate. A sniper would be able to make that shot. That's how close it is. So, but
cool.
Yeah, things
right.
So, but he apparently abused his kids and everything. And Mercedes had health issues due to fumes from her factory job, which may have also caused like defects in her children, specifically Richard.
Yeah, well, I could see that.
And early on, Richard had head injuries. A dresser fell over on him when he was a kid, when he was 2 years old, and it split his head open.
Oh, damn.
And when he was 5, he got knocked out on a swing set, resulted in epileptic seizures. And he was not at that point. He was playing football when that happened. Or he wanted to play football and he wasn't allowed to because of his seizures. That kind of, they went away after he got out of high school, but that kind of limited what he was able to do, because you definitely don't want to be have your quarterback dropping back to pass and all of a sudden have an epileptic seizure.
Well, yeah, that wouldn't be good.
No. Although it might make some quarterbacks better.
Yeah, I suppose.
So he began using drugs as a kid, and at first he started sniffing glue. We all know that glue is a gateway drug.
Right. Looks like I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue.
And don't call me Shirley. So, but then he started smoking pot, which is, as we know, is another gateway drug.
Oh, it sure is.
I'm kidding, of course.
Oh, I know.
And he would actually sleep in a graveyard to avoid his dad abusing him. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of. I mean, I guess it makes sense, because if he went to a park or whatever, you might have kids running around there in the middle of the night and everything. But in a graveyard, you're probably going to be more likely going to be left alone.
Yeah, right.
And especially over there near El Paso and everything. You don't want to, wake up getting your ass kicked.
No, definitely not.
So it's like a lot of people say, "Oh, how morbid! How sleeping in a graveyard." Actually, that's not. Yeah, there's actually sound reasoning behind that. At least in my opinion, there is. Like if I had to sleep outside and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to get messed with by a stranger or whatever, graveyard seems like it'd be a pretty safe place to go.
Yeah.
So long as your imagination doesn't run away with you. And at that point, he had.
Oh, I know.
At that point, he hadn't started using LSD.
Yeah, that.
So.
Yeah, I could see some odd things happening.
Yeah. Yeah. So, 12 years old, he starts hanging out with his cousin Miguel Ramirez, and he was a former Marine who had fought in Vietnam, and he would brag to Richard about his kills, and he actually had Polaroid pictures of women that he had murdered, and he bragged about raping and murdering these people. So it's like all of the stuff that that like certain people was blaming on, like saying that all of the soldiers in Vietnam were like doing all that stuff. Well, a good majority of them were not doing it, but it did happen.
Oh yeah.
So, which is unfortunate. But he taught Richard how to sneak attack victims and everything. And in 1973, he's hanging out with Miguel. He's 13 years old, and Miguel and his wife Jessie, they get into an argument. So just they're all sitting there at the dinner table. Miguel gets up, just nonchalantly goes and grabs his gun, comes up behind his wife and shoots her in the back of the head, execution style.
Holy shit!
Yeah, right in front of Richard.
Jesus. So
he obviously wasn't the same after that, and he was probably already in bad shape to begin with because of his, the injuries that he'd had. I mean, he's kind of had a rough go at it,
Yeah. Damn, dude. That's fucked up.
Mm-hmm. So, Miguel, he's found not guilty by reason of insanity. and
wow.
He spends 4 years in a mental hospital. It's like, damn, I mean, yeah,
dude, I mean, it's
if anything, that sets a bad precedence.
Yeah, it does. Jeez. I mean, like, he just walked up behind and shot her, but he gets off almost basically with just a slap in the wrist.
Mm-hmm. So then he starts staying with his sister Ruth and her husband, Roberto. And Roberto was a winner as well. And he showed Richard how to be a peeping Tom and how to be sneaky and everything. So, yeah, it's like, okay, all the crap that he's gone through as a kid, plus he's got, these people that he looked, these elders, people older than him in his family that are just basically teaching him. Between his uncle, between both of his uncles, they basically gave him everything that, all the training that he needed to become the freaking monster that he became.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so this is nurture.
Yeah, definitely. Jeez, that's crazy.
So then he started trying more drugs. He LSD, at 13 years old. So all these drugs that he's doing is, your brain doesn't stop maturing until you're 25. So you can just imagine what all these drugs that he was doing to his brain, on top of everything else that was that he had going against him.
Yeah.
So he then started going to church, and that's when he first learned about Satan, and he identified with him. Satan. And we don't need to go into that. We don't need to have 2 episodes in a row where we talk about what Satanism is or it isn't. We did that.
Yeah.
We did that in the Norwegian black metal episode. So
right. So,
but we don't.
Yeah.
We don't need to rehash that, especially because this one's going to be another long one.
yeah.
So he begins fantasizing about raping and torturing women, and he decided that he was going to try it. So he started hunting. He was just sneaking up on prey and everything, and just like an animal or whatever. He would just instead of like shooting like a deer or something like that, he'd sneak up and because remember Miguel taught him how to like be very quiet and sneak up on something.
Yes.
So he didn't shoot these animals. He would sneak up, stab them, and then he would mutilate them.
Ugh.
So you got to be pretty quiet to sneak up on a deer.
Yeah, you do.
You're out in the woods. You're 300 yards away from, or 100 yards away from a deer. You step on a twig and they haul ass.
Yeah.
But then you're hauling ass down the road in a Ford Aerostar with a exhaust leak, and they just stand there.
They go, "What's that?"
Yeah.
They're like, "What?" See, that's the problem, with these. I mean, just a comedian said this, and I forget who it was. It might have been Ron White. It's like, that's the problem with you guys hunting deers with your guns, dude. Your bullets go too fast. Slow your bullet down to like 55 miles an hour, and you will hit that deer.
Yeah, right. That's funny. So, when he's in 9th grade, at 14 years old, he gets a job at a hotel, and he begins spying on guests, and he's planning. He wants to rape and murder a woman. Yeah. So he picks out this woman, and he decides to rape her. But luckily, before he can actually do anything, her husband shows up and just beats the living shit out of Richard.
Oh.
And the couple, the couple leaves the state. No charges were filed on him because they weren't gonna come back to California to to testify against him.
Yeah.
I mean that could just it would be a waste of their time, and they're not coming back to California anyway. Yeah, so let them be California's problem.
Right.
Well, that's what they did, and apparently California didn't do a very good job, which we'll get to. And of course, he was fired from that job.
I would hope so.
So he quits school, and he starts hanging out with his brother Ruben, who shows him how to break and enter.
Oh, here we go.
At that point,
wow.
Miguel is released from the hospital, and they start doing drugs and hanging out again. Miguel, I mean, it's just this guy never stood a chance.
No, it doesn't sound like it. Damn.
So at this point, he begins committing, robbery by breaking and entering, and he's arrested twice for auto theft in 1981 and in 1984. And by this time, he'd become a coke addict as well, and that's why he did so many robberies, because he had to, he was actually able to finance his habit with it. And
well, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So he's on pot, he's on cocaine, he's on PCP, all of this at the same time. And during an episode, during a PCP episode, he ties up a woman and he rapes her, and he wound up getting a thrill from it. And he says that he never once had consensual sex with a woman. It was all either rapes or, it was something that he paid for from a sex worker. He never just he never just seduced a woman or,
right.
just got busy. It was all, a transaction or an assault.
Huh.
So he rarely bathed, and his teeth had rotted out, giving him like severely bad breath. Like he walks into a room and his breath would clear a room.
Right.
So he began taking interest in Anton LaVey. And, he didn't pay attention, obviously, to what Anton LaVey was saying. We're not going to, like I said, once again, we're not going to go into that, but Anton LaVey did not say, go out and kill people for the devil. In fact, he said the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So, so he decided to practice his own interpretation of Satanism, which, that's how cults get started.
Right? Yeah, I'm just going to make up my own thing.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, and it was his own brand of Satanism and all that stuff and everything. And he said Satan represented how he felt. And he also thought that Satan would protect him from getting caught, in all of his crimes.
I see.
Like, well, good luck with that, Lord of Darkness.
Yeah, right. And that worked out for you really good, didn't it?
Yeah. So between 84 and 85, he had killed 14 people, and there were 5 more who had survived. There were multiple rapes and robberies. And the victims, at the beginning, they were just completely random. There was no clear type of who he would go after, but later that would change to the elderly. Yeah, I mean, he's a coward.
Yeah.
He would stalk people. He would just break in, and then he would kill the man first so that he could rape and torture the woman before killing her. So, but he would always break in the middle of the night when they were sleeping, so he wouldn't, the chances of him having to encounter the man were a lot less. So he just comes in, whacks the man first, and then does whatever the hell he wants. So, in San Francisco in April of 1984, he was at a hotel that he was staying at, and he met 9-year-old May Leung. And he entices her to go, to go help him find something, and then once he does, he gets her down into the basement of the hotel where he rapes and stabs her. And then he strung her dead body up from a pipe. And that sound familiar?
Yeah.
BTK?
Yeah.
That's what BTK did with the Otero daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so he and I mean the timeline would match up, because that happened in 84, or this happened in 84, but the Oteros, I believe that was 78.
Yeah, so he would have known about it.
Yep. If he was paying attention. But still, it's just the fact that it's BTK didn't rape the little girl. He did violate her, but he didn't penetrate her or anything like that. But, it was still sick. But Richard Ramirez, he had left DNA, but there was no way to use it at that time. But, so he got away with this murder for a long time. But later on, when they were starting to actually be able to use DNA, they were able to pin that on him through the DNA that he had left. Because at the time, they were taking DNA and putting it in a freezer just in case they can use it later on. Once the technology, advanced.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty much common knowledge, but whatever. Somebody out there might not know that.
Right.
So, now in June of 84, he's down in Los Angeles, and he breaks into the house of 79-year-old Ginny Vinco. You know, she had opened her window of her house for fresh, you know, to get fresh air while she sleeps, you know, while she slept. And he stabbed her, then he slit her throat, and then he robbed the place.
Well, damn.
Now, just one thing I think is kind of funny here. Well, there's nothing funny about the victim, but the podcast Morbid. On one of their early episodes, and it might have even been Richard Ramirez, they said never sleep with your windows open. You know, and then they said fresh air is for dead people. I think they even made T-shirts that said "Fresh air is for dead people." So, but anyway, in March of '85, he's the following spring, he breaks into the apartment of Maria Hernandez, age 22, and her roommate, 34-year-old Dale Akasaki. I do not do good with these names. Oh man, yeah, you should have heard me on the Norwegian black metal trying to say those names. I'm glad those guys had had character names or stage names or whatever you want to call it. I'm glad it just made it a hell of a lot easier.
Right.
So, but he hid outside and then he shot Maria Hernandez in the face, and then he went inside because he heard Dale, who actually is a female, running around. He she hides, and then he comes in and he finds her, and then he shoots and kills her. But Maria Hernandez actually survived, so that's good.
Yes.
Yeah. And but the same night, they found, or he found Veronica Yu. She was 30, and he shot her twice and stole her car.
Damn. All this in one night?
Yeah. That was one night.
Wow. So he's a productive little critter, isn't he?
Yeah. He does, he does multiples several times. So, but like I said, Maria here we go. I was doing so freaking good. And now I'm getting tongue-tied. What the?
Let's take a deep breath, man. You got it.
Maybe I should do everything the way I did that freaking monologue at the beginning of the last episode. Well, I can't do that because I wasn't reading on that. I was just, rapid firing off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But, so she was able to give a description of Richard. She's a 25 to 35-year-old Hispanic man with dark curly hair and, of course, rotten teeth.
Yeah.
The sketch was released, but he changed his look frequently. All of the survivors, they all noticed, even though they gave different descriptions of him, there was one thing in common: rancid breath and rancid teeth.
Yeah. Well, at least they know who they're looking for.
Well, they're looking for a Hispanic man with bad teeth and halitosis. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
I mean, that doesn't really kind of narrow it down a whole lot, but it's better than nothing.
True, but that's all they have at the moment. The media names him the walk-in killer or the valley intruder. And tips become... fuck. Tips start coming in, and Richard Ramirez is, he's following the media coverage. I mean, he's a total narcissist. He's getting off on it, but he comes to realize that the media is actually telling him what the police are doing, so he's able to stay one step ahead of them.
Holy crap! Really? Holy shit! That's
yeah. Well, I mean, Richard was not. He wasn't an idiot like BTK was.
uh-huh.
He wasn't a freaking moron, but he wasn't a genius, but he had the he had the ability to read between the lines whenever he watched a news report. And basically adjust his behavior accordingly, and that really becomes a problem here later in the story. But at the time, it's just that's how he's able to stay one step ahead of him. I mean, it's like the police would be getting closer, and then all of a sudden something completely different happens. That doesn't fit the MO. Because at the time, like later on, when it really it becomes impossible to hide the fact that there was a serial killer and everything. The media didn't know. The media at the time didn't know they were dealing with a serial killer. I mean, they thought they were. It's like, okay, they had the walk-in killer, they had the Valley Intruder and stuff like that, and they, but they didn't really know that they had a serial killer. But later on, when he becomes labeled, dons the moniker the Night Stalker, that happens. It's like impossible to kind of keep it going, keep it hidden any longer.
Yeah. Right.
So, March of '85, 64-year-old Vincent and his 44-year-old wife Maxine Zazura, or Vincent and Maxine Zazura. He's 64, she's 44. Go Vincent.
Oh yeah.
Now, he had broken into their house in 1984 and just robbed them. So, but this time he decides to go back, and he shoots Vincent, and then he tied and beat Maxine, and he raped her. And then, as he's robbing the place, he tied her up and everything, but she actually escapes, and she grabs a shotgun, and she fires at Richard Ramirez, but the shotgun wasn't loaded.
Oh.
Yeah, and they probably got the shotgun after their house was robbed the previous year.
Right?
You would think they would keep it loaded. I'm not victim blaming here, but it's just like, why get a gun for protection if you're not going to keep it loaded?
Yeah.
I mean, because that would have ended the story right then and there. Boom. But instead, he just laughed at her and shot her 3 times and then stabbed her. And then, as a little bit of revenge for, like, how dare you try to kill me, he uses a knife and he scoops out her eyes out of her head.
Ugh.
And he took them with her, and he put them in a jewelry box. And her own jewelry box, and he took them with her, or he took them with him, and little souvenirs. And
so now he's taking trophies.
Yeah, check a trophy.
So now he's taking trophies.
Yep. And the bodies were discovered by their son.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's horrible. Now, when police were there investigating and everything, they found a footprint of a size 11.5 Avia shoe. And so they took the bullets, casings and everything from shot, and it turns out that the casings had matched with previous bullet casings that had been found at previous sites. So now they know that they've got a serial killer. Yeah, it's confirmed. Because why else would the same bullet casings be showing up at different sites?
Yeah.
So, in May of 1985, 66-year-old Bill Day or Doy, and his wife, 56-year-old Lillian. She's disabled, and he breaks in, but Bill is actually awake, and he tries to grab his gun, but Richard shoots him, and then beats the shit out of him. Yeah, then he ties Lillian up and puts thumb cuffs on her.
Ooh.
And then he robbed the house, and then he killed Lillian as well. I mean, this guy, he's just, he's like this entire spree. He's not in berserker mode like Ted Bundy was at the end of his reign of terror in Tallahassee, but but he's kind of been in like a berserker mode ever since he got started.
Right.
So later on that month, May of '85, he had stolen a car in Monrovia, California, and he goes to the house of 81-year-old Ma Bell. That Ma is a nickname, and 83-year-old Ma Bell and 81-year-old Nettie Long. And Nettie was disabled, but they were sisters and they lived together, and Ma was helping out with her disabled sister. So he breaks in and he finds a hammer and he hit Nettie and tied her up, and he does the same to Ma, and he actually tortures and rapes these two, and he even went so far as to shock them with bare electric wires.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, he strip the wires down, plug it in, and shock them.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he finds lipstick, and he draws a pentagram on Ma and on the mirror. Now Nettie survived, Ma didn't, but Nettie was found 2 days later. She was barely alive, so she's just sitting there in the house, like critically wounded and everything after what she had gone through, and she sat there for 2 days with her dead sister.
Wow, fuck, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's horrible. Yeah,
that's beyond horrible. Jesus.
Yeah, can you imagine what was going on in her head during that time?
No.
And
I mean,
I can't.
I can't imagine that. I have nothing to even come close to what that must have been like.
I know, it's terrible. And you know what? As bad as a debacle as BTK episode was, can you imagine if we had done this one the day that we the day that we did BTK?
Yeah.
You think BTK fucked me up bad? Imagine me doing this one before I got myself acclimated.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is.
Oh man,
this is bad. But anyway,
you might have had to do a wellness check on me the next day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you didn't listen, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the BTK episodes were done like really early in our existence, as podcasters, and it's different when you're the one telling the story, even if you've heard the story before. And let's just say that I kind of lost my freaking mind while narrating that episode.
Yeah.
So it would have been 10 times worse if we had done Richard Ramirez that early. But because I'm fine now. I'm fine with this one. So you got to distance yourself from it, and I think I've learned how to do that.
Yeah.
So the next day, the very next day, he attacks 42-year-old Carol Kyle and her 11-year-old son. He's cuffed and he's robbed. He robs the place, and he puts the son in the closet. Then he rapes her repeatedly, and he tells her not to look at him, or he would gouge her eyes out.
Well,
he then puts the cuffs on the mother, or he cuffs the son to the mother, and then he leaves. He doesn't kill these two people.
Huh. That's okay.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's just why I don't understand why he didn't kill them. I mean, I'm glad that he didn't, but still, it's just like, why didn't he kill him? You know?
Yeah. I don't.
After killing these other people, leaving this old disabled woman that he had violated, leaving her for dead, thinking that she was dead and all that stuff. And, just why spare these two people?
Yeah. I don't know.
You can't. And this is why we do this. We try to get into their heads and figure out what the fuck is going on with them. So.
Yeah, I don't. That's weird. I don't understand why he do, unless he's saving them for later.
Could be because he did go back to that other couple's house.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm glad I don't know, because that would mean I would be a serial killer.
Yeah.
So a month later, he breaks into Mary Louise Cannon. She's a grandmother and a widow, and she was completely random. Yeah, he hadn't stalked her or anything like that. He just said, "Oh, that house looks cool," and he goes in. She lived alone, and he beat her while she was asleep with a lamp, and then he stabbed her.
Oh, damn.
Now, I remember when I said that, he had learned how to be very, very, very quiet.
Uh-huh.
In July of 1985, he breaks into a house and he finds 16-year-old Whitney Bennett. She's asleep, and he just beats her with a tire iron. And he was looking for a knife, but he couldn't find one. So he takes the bone cord and he cuts it and everything. But he sees blue sparks because one side of it's still connected to electricity. So he sees blue sparks. And he stopped and he ran off, and he thought that God was protecting Whitney.
Oh.
And maybe he was.
Interesting. Okay.
Maybe he was, but he's like this satanic warrior and everything. So, I don't. That could have just been something that he said. Although Whitney was, I'm pretty sure she was unconscious. So this is basically just going off of what Richard Ramirez said.
Mm-hmm.
She survived, but she needed over 400 stitches in her head.
Damn. 400? Fuck, dude, that's...
Yeah, and like I said, he's quiet, so he knocked her unconscious with the very first hit, so she never screamed. That's why her parents never didn't wake up. He was that freaking quiet. So, the guy. I mean, this dude should have freaking just joined the military.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he would have been, well, but then again, I mean, he would have been too young to go to Vietnam. So he wouldn't have had anything to do. But
he wouldn't have had anything to do. Yeah.
Right. But he was already ate up on drugs and all that stuff. And like I said, his influences, his influences growing up weren't exactly, like we said earlier, he never stood a chance.
Yeah. That's
not making excuses for him at all.
No,
but
no,
it's
not at all.
But if there was ever a case for nurture on this one, this is it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So 2 days later, he goes to 61-year-old Joyce Nelson's house. She's asleep on the couch, and he beat her and he kicked her, and until he just beat her and kicked her to death. I mean, that was like a change in his MO there.
Yeah.
Police find when they came and did their investigation, they found an imprint of an 11.5 Avia shoe on Joyce Nelson's face, and they matched it to the cast of the one that they had found at the previous murder.
Uh-oh. So they're closing in.
They are. But get ready to get pissed off. But,
yeah, I knew this was coming.
Yeah. But you know what's coming. Yeah. But later,
I got a feeling.
Later that day, 63-year-old Sophie Dickman, he breaks into her house, he cuffs her, he rapes her, and he robs, and he's like, I want all your jewelry. And after she gives him the jewelry and everything, he I know you got more. She's like, no, you've got it all. So he makes her swear to Satan that there was no more. So you got to imagine that at this point he's feeling invincible because he hasn't gotten caught. The only time he's ever gotten caught is when he tried to rape that woman when he had that hotel job.
Yeah. He lucked out on that one too, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the husband should have just hit him a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Boom, self-defense. And then there is no Night Stalker.
And yeah, end of story.
Mm-hmm. So in July of 1985, he decides, it's like, you know what? I want something different. I want to change things up a little bit. I want a different weapon. Care to take a guess on what kind of weapon he got?
Oh. A pitchfork?
Nope.
I don't know.
Pitchfork would be kind of hard to conceal. Kind of hard to hide it.
Yeah, I don't know. A knife? Did he get himself a good knife or something, like a hunting knife?
A machete.
Oh, a machete.
Yeah.
See, I was close.
So he breaks into the house of 66-year-old Layla Needing and her husband Maxon. He slashes them both with the machete and then shoots them and robs them.
Holy crap.
So this guy's just freaking evil. I mean, he doesn't even give a shit. I mean, it's just, he doesn't care about anything. He just
apparently not.
He just likes to kill people.
That's crazy. Yeah, this.
So later on, shortly later, I don't have the date written down on this one, but, and forgive me, I'm going to butcher these names.
Just do your best, bro.
Chainarong and Sam Kid Kawananth.
Okay.
He shoots the man and then rapes the woman, and then he ties up their son, and then he drags the woman through the house to find, like, show me where all the money is. And money and jewelry and everything. And then once he's got everything, he makes her swear to Satan that there's no more. And she doesn't kill, or he doesn't kill her. But the reports of the killings are on the they're now like on the front pages of the newspapers and everything. There's record sales of guns and dogs and security systems, window bars and stuff like that. All of California was scared shitless, and there's no real there's no real lead on who he was. So the police, they put more officers on the streets and everything, and told people to lock their windows and doors. And the FBI actually got involved, and they created a task force, dedicated to finding Richard Ramirez. And there were some detectives, they thought it was a gang. They thought it was a gang because, just because of how frequent these things were. They thought it was like maybe like a Mexican cartel, or like, I don't know if MS-13 was a thing back then. I think it was, but something like that.
Right.
It's just like some. It's like they were split. Some thought that it was one person. Others thought it was like, no, this is a gang.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, he was pretty prolific.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he just it's as far as just the way, as far as like, his modus operandi and everything, and how he carried everything out. I mean, he was definitely one of the shrewdest serial killers that was out there.
Yeah,
just
no doubt.
And he would just basically hit and run. And it's really, it's really hard to track down somebody when they're in and out of there in just like a matter of like minutes. Or
yeah.
So and he's really good. I mean, it's like the cars that he had stolen and everything. Like when the cars were recovered, there were no prints. So he was really good at covering his tracks as well. But this guy was a machine.
Yeah, right. I mean,
so in August of '85, 27-year-old Virginia Peterson and her husband Chris, he breaks into their house. He wakes up Virginia and she screams and he shoots her in the face, and he shoots Chris in the neck. Chris attacks Richard, and then he runs away and he takes off because he's a pussy.
Yeah.
It's just,
oh no, he hit me back.
Yeah, and he's got a freaking gun in his hand, but he's still hauled ass. Run away! Run away!
You're right.
So, this guy, Chris, reminds me of oh god, that younger brother in the BTK episode. Yeah, this dude gets shot twice and everything, but he still comes back, attacking BTK.
Yeah.
So
that's another kind of similarity here. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just purely coincidental similarity.
Right.
But I was like, yeah, when you said that, when he's like shot him in the neck and then he fought back, I'm like, dude, I remember that.
Yeah.
Like, did we? Somebody else did that.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember the guy's name. I should have written it down in my notes, but yeah, it's just that guy could have ended BTK right then and there, but. Yeah, and BTK ran off as well. They're both. Yeah. Both of these guys are fucking pussies. Just you sneak attack people and everything, and then you run whenever you get any type of resistance.
Yeah.
So
cowards.
Yeah, exactly. Freaking. Just be a badass. I don't know. It's just like if you're afraid to fight, I don't know. Maybe that's why serial killers, a lot of them are pussies like this. They're afraid to fight, so they just do their own thing. They just sneak attack and all that stuff, and then they haul ass to somebody if they get any type of resistance.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess.
August. Later on in August, 31. He breaks into the house of 31-year-old Elias and 27-year-old Sakina Abawath, and their 3-year-old son. He shoots Elias, and Elias dies instantly, and then he tortures and rapes Sakina for like throughout the night, and he's just having fun. The 3-year-old son gets woke up, and he comes into the room to see what's going on, and Ramirez ties him up, and then continues to attack. He continues to attack Sakina, and he makes her swear to Satan that she wouldn't scream. And then, he robs. He drags her through the house, like, okay, where is everything, and blah, 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 blah. But both Sakina and the little boy would survive. So, at this point, he's like, okay, the police are kind of, they've got some evidence on me and stuff like that. This is in Los Angeles. So he leaves Los Angeles and goes back to San Francisco. He figured that since the L.A. cops were getting close, he figured San Francisco would be safer for him. But, before you get to San Francisco, you have to go right past a pretty big monument about why committing crimes is not a good idea. You know what I'm talking about? Alcatraz.
I believe so. Yeah, Alcatraz.
I've seen Alcatraz. I haven't been there, but I've actually never been into San Francisco. I've been in Oakland, right by the bay. Drove right by it, and Alcatraz is right there. The Golden Gate Bridge is there, and everything.
Yeah.
San Francisco in the distance. I'm glad I've never been to San Francisco. I don't even want to think about what it would be like to drive a fucking semi through the streets of San Francisco.
Oh, God.
With all those hills and
right.
everything. Jesus Christ.
Oh, shit,
that would be
bro.
a nightmare. So he breaks into the house of 60-year-old Barbara and 66-year-old Peter Pan. Barbara and Peter Pan. Yes, Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
No.
And, Peter is shot in the head, and he's dead. And then he raped Barbara, and he shot her. And then he found lipstick, and he makes a pentagram on the wall. And then, of course, he wrote the words "Jack the Knife" on the wall, which is Jack the Knife is a line in the Judas Priest song "The Ripper."
Yeah.
And as a result about that, when that information came out, a lot of people wanted to blame Judas Priest for all this shit. I mean, nothing came of that. They weren't taking the trial for that. That was something else. But
yeah.
But just because, I mean, now the song "The Ripper," it's about Jack the Ripper. And it's
Yeah.
And it's not. But people wanted to say that oh well. But he was a metalhead. So if he hadn't been a metalhead, he liked to listen to Metallica. He listened to Judas Priest. He listened to AC/DC. He listened to like all these other metal bands. And well, AC/DC's not metal, but still he liked all that stuff and everything. And this is leading the Satanic Panic at this point is starting to gear up.
Yeah, right.
This is 1985, and that it really went into full swing around 86 or 88, 89. So, but it's starting to gear up and everything. People are starting to take notice and make the connection to like bands like Judas Priest and everything. And honestly, this is one of the things that started the Satanic Panic as far as like blaming the metal musicians.
Uh-huh.
Because like, you've got the Night Stalker Victim, and you've got a lyric to a Judas Priest song on a wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So this is one of the things that started the Satanic Panic. I swear we're going to do an episode on that. Yeah, we don't want to do too many metal ones. We just did the black metal. Now we're doing this guy, and we're talking about metal and everything. We're not going to do another metal episode for a while.
Yeah, we'll.
But the Satanic Panic and the connection to metal, that episode is going to take a lot of time to research.
Oh, no doubt. And the fucked up thing is, dude, me and you lived through that shit. We were there when that shit happened.
Oh yeah, and I was living with my uncle at the time, or my mom, my sister, and me. We moved in with my uncle, and my uncle had a TV, and he refused to turn it off. Yeah, he's like, no, you're in my house. I'm not going to turn off the TV just because your kooky church says that you can't watch TV.
Exactly.
But I remember news reports talking about the Night Stalker. I remember getting freaked out because it's like they would always have this spooky music with like a gold colored, street light, stuff like that and everything. It's a Night Stalker, and it was like a nightly thing where we'd be getting updates about it and everything. I remember being freaked out about that shit.
Oh yeah, man, that was crazy.
Mm-hmm. So, that's definitely an episode we're going to do in the future about how heavy metal, and heavy metal is we're not going to do a Satanic Panic episode per se, but because like so many podcasts have done like an episode about the Satanic Panic and everything that happened and all that stuff. We don't need to really beat that dead horse. The only reason we're doing Richard Ramirez is because the ending is so freaking satisfying. But yeah, it's just, but not a lot of podcasts have done the how heavy metal was tied to it, and that's what we want to cover. And whether you like heavy metal or not, it's still, even if you don't like heavy metal, it's an interesting story.
Yes.
Like I like that movie Straight Outta Compton about NWA.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I watched that movie. I loved it. I thought that movie was awesome.
Yeah.
And I hate rap, but I thought that movie was awesome. I mean, it was really well put together. Same thing with, it's just like I like history of music, especially when you're dealing with like a controversial, artist and everything. I like hearing the history about it, regardless of what kind of music it is. And I'm just saying that because I'm hoping that like fans of rap or country or whatever. I'm hoping that when we do that episode, they'll just listen to it out of curiosity, the same way that I would listen to a podcast about NWA or, Suge Knight and his, and all that stuff. I mean, it's interesting to me. So I would hope that people would find our metal episodes the same way,
we can always hope.
Yep. But although the Norwegian black metal episode is doing very well. It's being very well received.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, hashtag, but I digress.
Yeah.
So, anyway, a shoe print was found there, and it was the same thing, an 11.5 Avia. And it was linked to the other two casts that they had. It was the same thing. So the task force that they have, they go and they report this information to then the governor of California, now Senator Dianne Feinstein. And this freaking genius, she goes and she announces that info on TV at a press conference. We found that the killer was using, was wearing an 11.5 Avia sneaker, tennis shoe.
Oh my!
It's like, yeah, and in that documentary, the one on Netflix. They had one of the police officers on there that was part of the task force, and he's just like, and he was still pissed off about it. When they made the documentary, he's like, he's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like, what the hell is this bitch doing? So Richard Ramirez, like I said before, he was following the case. He was following like all the news stories and everything. So you know what he does? He takes those shoes, walks to the center of the Golden Gate Bridge, and just chunks them into the bay.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good idea.
I mean,
but you know what's going to happen, though, right? I mean, he's going to have another pair of shoes. They'll be different brand, but they're still going to be 11 and a half. And they're going to go, hey, look, it's a different shoe, but it's still 11 and a half.
Right.
I bet it's the same guy.
Yeah,
especially after that debacle.
Yeah, right. It's like, I wear 11 and a half in some brands. Maybe I'm the Night Stalker.
No.
But at this is the point where he was dubbed by the media the Night Stalker. And the media, I mean, the media and Diane Feinstein, I believe that they were complicit in this. It's just, he likes the name the Night Stalker. It's like they emboldened him. He admitted it as much. He's like, I liked the name the Night Stalker. Those other two names that they came up with before they realized it was a serial killer, it's like, not so much. I liked the Night Stalker. So a hotel owner in San Francisco recognized the description that had been released of Richard Ramirez, and he calls the police. Now, Richard Ramirez had been living in hotels, like various hotels and everything, ever since, like before he started all this crap, and including the Cecil Hotel. So, so at that point, like after the thing with his shoes and everything, he's like, okay, well, maybe I'm better off further south. So he goes back to L.A. He steals a car, and then he goes further south, like south of L.A. In August of this, we're still in August of '85, believe it or not.
Jeez.
Now the Romero family, James and his wife, they were asleep, and their 13-year-old son, he was awake, and he hears something outside. He hears footsteps. So he wakes the parents up, and then they go out to investigate, and Richard Ramirez bolts. Of course he does. He's a fucking pussy.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm glad he did. But the son saw the car and part of the license plate number. So they called the police and everything. The police came out there and did an investigation, and they found a footprint. But obviously it wasn't of the 11 and a half Avia.
Yeah, but I bet it was still 11 and a half, right? That's got to be enough.
Probably. I mean, shit. If I was him, I would have switched to like a size, like a 12 and a half or something like that.
Right, start wearing big shoes.
I mean, you can like a different, like my Reeboks that I have right now, they're 11 and a half. But there's others like Nikes. I think I'm like a 12, and like Converse All Stars, I wear a 12 and a half. So it just depends on the brand. But I definitely would have gotten something that wasn't an 11 and a half.
Yeah, no shit, right?
So that then he goes into the house of 30-year-old Bill Carnes and his 29-year-old fiancée Inez Erickson. They're asleep, and he just walks in and he shoots Bill 3 times. And he beats and rapes Inez, and he tells her that he is the Night Stalker. And he makes her to swear to Satan. And you know what? BTK did that too. He told a victim that he was BTK.
Yeah.
A lot of similarities here. So
yeah, there are.
So he ties her up and he robs them and he drags her through the house and everything, and then he leaves her alive, and he says, "Make sure you tell them the Night Stalker was here." And Bill survived, but he's impaired for life, and Inez was able to give an even more detailed description.
There we go.
So the car's found, but there's it's been wiped clean, but they did manage to find one fingerprint on a mirror, on the rearview mirror.
Uh-oh. How'd he miss that?
Maybe somebody was coming up behind him with their brights on, so he just flipped that little thing to raise the mirror up a little bit and then just forgot about it.
The nizzle brill?
Huh?
No, I said the nizzle brill.
The what?
It's called the nizzle brill.
I have never heard that before.
You remember that show, Not Necessarily the News, back in the 80s?
I do remember that, actually.
And they would do that segment called Sniglets, where it's like words that, like names of things, like words that aren't really words or like names of things.
You really are a encyclopedia of useless trivia, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Because I remember that show, but to remember something that freaking random.
Yeah, well, see, I had the books. It was like, all the Sniglets, because people would like write into the show and like tell them like what they called things, like. And that's the little lever on the rear view mirror that bumps it when your brights are on. That's called a nizzle brill.
Okay. That's awesome. The more you know.
Yeah, anyway. Yep.
Now at this point, California had just implemented a computerized fingerprint database. But the only people that they had in it were people that were born after January of 1960. Now, the San Francisco hotel owner, he had mentioned the last name Ramirez. So they ran his fingerprint against the last name of Ramirez. And they found him. 25-year-old Richard Ramirez. He was born February 10th, 1960.
Just got under the cut there, didn't he?
Yeah. So okay, at this point now they know who it is. So they release his mugshot, and they schedule a press conference and everything, and they basically says, "We know who you are. You can't hide." And, within a day, everybody's going to know who the hell you are.
Yeah.
So, Richard didn't see the press conference. Yeah, he didn't see the press conference. He didn't see his face on any newspapers or anything like that. For somebody who had been following the media so intently prior, it's just like you'd think that he would have been onto that.
Yeah, right.
He might have been coked up at the time. Who knows?
Hey.
So, but he decided that he was going to go to Arizona to see his brother. He literally had no idea that every California news outlet was running his mugshot.
Wow.
So August 31st of 1985, he comes back from Arizona, and he gets off the bus, and he notices that the police are there. They're monitoring the bus station to try and prevent him from leaving. So he goes into the convenience store, and he notices that a group of women outside were talking to police officers, and they were pointing to him. And they kept saying, "El Matador, El Matador," which means the killer.
Yeah.
So he finally happens to look down at the newspaper and see his picture on the front page. So he runs into the street, and this is the payoff. This is the fucking money shot. This is the this is the happy ending.
All rolled up into one.
Yeah. So the cops converge on him. Multiple police cars, a helicopter. They were all mobilized like immediately. So he's running through alleys. He ran across a freeway. He tries to carjack a woman, but a man saw him and then chased him. He tried to steal a parked car, but another man, pulled him out of it.
Oh wow!
He tries yet again. He runs up and he attacks a woman who was in a car, but her husband came out of the store. He picks up a frickin' pipe and beats him over the fucking head with it.
Oh yeah!
He's fucking hurt badly. Yeah, he manages to get away from this guy and everything, and he's still managing to be ahead of the cops and everything. He's still ahead. He still thinks that he still has a mathematical possibility of getting away. But
yeah, no.
But he had the police and a freaking vigilante mob behind him, and he's running through this like mainly Spanish neighborhoods, and he's like, and the more people, like, as the mob keeps growing, because as they go by, people are like, what the hell's going on? It's the killer! I'm at the door! And the crowd, it's a scene out of a fucking movie, The crowd's getting bigger.
Like literally torches and pitchforks chasing down.
Huh?
It's like, in the Frankenstein movies where the villagers were torches and pitchforks.
Yeah.
Chasing him through. That's literally what was happening. That's fucking awesome.
Exactly. So they, more people, every street that they go on, more people join the chase. And apparently this guy was really fucking fast because he's got a gaping head wound from that pipe and everything, and he's still managing to stay ahead of everybody. Yeah, okay, all right. You're fast. Well, maybe he was on PCP at the time. Who knows?
It could be.
So the crowd finally overtakes him, and they catch him, and they start beating the fuck out of him. Just boom, boom, boom. Just beat the shit out of him and everything. And he's on the ground and everything. He's screaming like a little fucking bitch. And these people are just kicking him and stomping him and all that stuff. And the cops finally, they finally pull up, and they are able to subdue the mob and everything, and they arrest him.
Subdue the mob.
when he saw the police approaching, he starts begging the cops to help me.
Arrest me! Arrest me! Oh my god!
This is the most satisfying end to a fucking serial killer's story, but it gets better. It gets better.
But wait, there's more.
So he's begging the cops for help and everything, and then he, once they had him in the police car, he thanked them for rescuing him.
Oh, yeah.
So, oh god, I want to see that done in a movie. I want to see a movie done about Richard Ramirez, but I don't want to see him going through all these people and killing them.
You just want to see him being chased down.
Yeah, I just want to see that. Hell, if some freelance studio can redo the freaking Death Star duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, somebody can do put together that scene. With Richard Ramirez getting run down by the vigilante mob.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody could probably pull something like that off.
So the people after they drive off with him, with him in the police car, the people in the neighborhood, they just a flash mob party.
Yeah, right.
Flash mob didn't, the term flash mob didn't exist at the time, but that's what it was. They just started partying out in the streets and all that stuff, just celebrating that the Night Stalker had been caught and they had something to do with it,
Right.
I'm so fucking happy for these people. God, that would have been, God, that just seeing, just imagine seeing that, or being part of it, man. I would love to hear an interview with somebody who was part of that mob,
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. That'd be fucking awesome.
or the guy that beat him in the head with the pipe, because I'm pretty sure that he joined the mob after he clocked him with the pipe.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
That's the guy. That's the guy I want to hear an interview with. So they get him to the police station. They get him out of the car, and he just freaking vomits. And what came out, according to the police officer, one of the police officers, he's like, it was like The Exorcist, green.
Oh.
It's like, okay, that guy's evil. So I wonder what he had been eating.
I don't know.
Spinach?
Avocados. Pea soup.
Pea soup. Yeah, pea soup. Yeah, that. I mean, because if it's spinach, then it would just come out spinach, because you don't really chew spinach up; you just swallow it. Yeah,
as long as it's cooked. I mean, if you're eating it raw, you kind of got to chew it a little bit.
Yeah, but if it's cooked, you just like chew it a couple of times to get the flavor in your mouth and you swallow it.
Yeah, you probably because it's just so. Once it's cooked, there's nothing to it. It just.
Yeah, it's so good though. I love spinach.
I'm not a huge fan of spinach, but I don't dislike it.
I love it. I love spinach. I'll take a freaking. Oh man, I'll take a pizza dough, and I'll do it down with that olive oil instead of like spaghetti sauce, and it'll work. This will work well with Alfredo sauce as well. But but olive oil, and then you take broccoli and spinach, and you cook them up. You cook them up to get them soft and everything, and then you season that with some garlic and some herbs and stuff like that. You season that. You put that in, like you cover that with the. You cover the dough with that, and then you top it with mozzarella or a blend of mozzarella provolone or whatever, whatever you use, whatever cheese you use.
Right.
And you cook that shit will melt in your fucking mouth.
Sounds like
it's so good. It is so good. And God damn it! Now I'm gonna have to make one of those pizzas now. But all right, you're welcome. Kitchen chat with Bill.
Random recipes.
Random recipes. Oh my god! But all right, you're welcome.
Yep. Enjoy. Sounds delicious.
People are like, okay, I only read Penthouse for the articles. People are like, I only listen to Crimes, Killers, Cults, and Beer for the recipes. So, another cop described Richard Ramirez as having cold, black eyes, pure evil. And while he was being interrogated, he was like taking his fingers and just drawing pentagrams and stuff on the table with his, just outlining it with his fingers,
Yeah.
And he tries to get all philosophical during the interview and everything. During the interrogation, he's like, everyone is evil in one way or another. Yeah, and then he says that he's, you know what, that's true. But not everybody goes off and fucking kills people.
Yeah, right.
I mean, everybody has a freaking mean streak. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. Everybody has a mean streak. It's just, I don't know. Like we said in the last episode and everything. It's just like having those feelings to want to do something is one thing. Everybody has that, but the sane among us don't act on it.
Yeah.
So, but he says he's innocent.
Of course.
And then this is after that whole thing. It's just oh god, I'm still on the high about the frickin' mob, the vigilante mob.
Right?
That's so awesome. The cop said he's now in the same class of killers as Bundy, Manson, etc. And he says, well, serial killers do on a small scale what the government does on a large scale. He thinks he's this freaking deep philosopher and all that stuff,
right?
and it's like, shut the fuck up, Richard. So, no. Well, he did impress some people, and we'll get to that shortly. But so he's charged with 14 robberies, 11 rapes, 5 attempted murder, and 13 murders. Yeah, but he's still, saying that he's innocent and everything. Now, I said 14 murders. Yeah, at the start of this episode. But there's that little girl in the beginning.
Right.
Later on, they, they attach that murder to him through DNA, which raises, his count to 14.
Yeah.
That we know of. We always got to throw that in there with these big time serial killers that we know of.
Yeah, because
I'm sure there are more. But jury selection, it took 3 years to get the trial started because of jury selection, because of how sensationalized this thing was. It was hard to find an impartial jury. And during this whole thing, he had fired several attorneys. It's just like, why bother? I mean, but he's doing, at this point, he's doing the same thing that Bundy did by making the whole thing into a spectacle just to shine, just to spotlight him. He's doing the same thing that Bundy did. And when was Bundy caught? It don't matter. In January of 1989, the trial begins, and he's still claiming that he's innocent. And at his first appearance, he yells, "Hail Satan!" And his left hand, he had drawn a pentagram on his left hand, and he held it up like in a freaking Hail Hitler salute.
Yeah, I remember that.
So. Yeah, he would wear all black and everything, and Satan, so-called Satanists who supported him, they came to the trial. They also wore black to be in solidarity with him. Yeah, like I said a minute ago, he did inspire some people.
Yeah. Not in a good way, but yeah.
Mm-mm. He had a plan to smuggle a gun into the courtroom and shoot the prosecutor. Yeah, that was kind of leaked out or whatever, and then a metal detector was installed, and that didn't happen. August 14th of 1989, the trial stops because one juror didn't show up. It was Phyllis Singletary. She had been murdered by her boyfriend, and it was a murder-suicide. And the police determined that it wasn't linked to Richard Ramirez, but there are other jurors there. They didn't believe that. They were scared. They thought that Richard Ramirez had orchestrated the hit on this jury on Phyllis Singletary from while in prison.
Oh man!
I mean, and you know what? I get that. I get that.
Yeah, If I was in that situation, and dude, especially with the fucking terror everybody was scared of this motherfucker.
Yeah. So
I can see their imaginations running away with them very easily.
Yeah, he wound up with a following of fans. It was mostly women. One woman, fell in love with him. She believed that he was innocent and everything, and they got engaged.
I don't understand that at all, dude.
I don't either. There's a scientific term for it, but I can't remember what the hell it is.
Yeah.
But
whatever.
Yeah. But so on September 20th of 1989, he's found guilty of all charges. And in a statement, he says, "I will be revenged," and he lashes out at everybody, with more philosopher bullshit. And at this point, he's given himself a promotion. Now he thinks that he is the devil.
Delusions of grandeur and all.
Yeah. So he's sentenced to 19 death sentences.
Oh.
And he smiles. He says, "I'm beyond good and evil. I shall be avenged. Lucifer dwells in all of us. Big deal. Death always went with the territory. See y'all at Disneyland."
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just more fucking dribble and all that stuff. And at the time, this was the most expensive trial that had ever been to date, and it was like $1.8 million, which is probably like $12 million today or something like that.
Yeah.
So, on October 3rd, 1996, he marries his groupie fiancée, Doreen Loy. They get married, and she swore that she would kill herself when Richard Ramirez was executed.
Alright.
They need to just check that bitch into a fucking mental institution. Because, I mean, it's just like, okay, you're going to marry this guy, and then you're just going to kill. You're admitting that you're going to kill yourself after getting yourself married to one of the most prolific, one of the most notorious serial killers that there's ever been.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
well,
she's got some screws loose.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, shit. I guess maybe that's why she wanted to marry him. 'Cause she's definitely fucking, the lights are on, but nobody's home.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a good Deep Purple song. Anyway. Yeah, it's just, she said that, he's kind, he's funny, he's charming, he's a great person, and what do we like to say on the show? He's a nice guy.
He was such a nice boy.
Yeah, that's kind of our thing.
Oh, yeah.
But she eventually wound up leaving him and divorcing his ass.
Oh, good. So she didn't have to kill herself then?
Apparently not. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she came to her senses.
But can you imagine? I mean, it's like her love life after that. It's like, oh yeah, I was married to Richard Ramirez.
Fuck off.
Bye. Wait, I laughed.
She is.
Yeah, but you married him in the first place.
Yeah. if that's not a red flag about right. There isn't one.
You are cuckoo. Cuckoo.
Yeah, right.
So he kept appealing, and his appeals were all denied, and all that stuff. Yeah, and at this point, this is when the DNA for the little girl was, pinned that on him. Yeah, his teeth got replaced. Yeah, they gave him either dentures or implants on the taxpayer dime.
I'm pretty sure it'd be dentures.
Yeah. But still, that... Why... he's sentenced to death. Why even bother?
I don't know. Why not?
I mean, shit, while he was alive, they should have just used him as the gas chamber. Save some fucking money. Just stick him in there and have him breathe into somebody else's face.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So, but the letters kept rolling in and all that stuff, and all of his groupies and all that stuff, they would come visit him and blah blah blah. And in 2013, he was engaged again to a 23-year-old girl.
Holy crap!
Yeah. So now we're gonna get into some more. Remember when I said it but wait, there's more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're almost done. Sean Penn. In mid-1987, he was put into LA County Jail for reckless driving and for punching a photographer while filming the movie Colors, that was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
But Richard Ramirez was there too, and he wanted Penn's autograph. Richard wrote a note to Penn, and he says, "Hey Penn, stay tough and hit them again." And then he signed it Richard Ramirez 666 with a pentagram.
Yeah.
Penn wrote back, Richard, it's impossible to be incarcerated and not feel a kinship with those that you're in with. Well, Richard, I've done the impossible because I feel no kinship with you. I hope gas descends on you before your sanity does. It would be a kinder way out. And he didn't even sign it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, epic burn. Epic burn.
Fuck yeah. And Metallica's in this too.
Yeah.
Metallica, Kurt Hammett was interviewed, and somebody asked it, like, okay, who's the most unexpected person ever to be a Metallica fan? And Kurt Hammett is like, Richard Ramirez. So, while recording the video for the song Saint Anger,
Yeah.
and that was done in San Quentin. The prisoners that are in that video are actual prisoners.
Prisoners, yeah.
But he was on he was on death row in San Quentin. Richard Ramirez was.
Uh-huh.
And they actually did a concert for those people, kind of like what Johnny Cash did. But they didn't record it. I'm surprised they didn't record the concert. They probably should have. That's a very un-Metallica thing to do, to not fucking record that shit, because that album would have went crazy the same way Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison live album did. But just as long as they didn't play very many songs off of Saint Anger.
Well, see, that's I was just gonna go there. I was like, dude, they probably did record it, but it's probably mostly Saint Anger tunes, and the backlash from that record.
Yeah,
they're like, dude, this is never gonna see the light of day.
Oh, with this, with the thing on Stranger Things, where Eddie Munson gets up there and he plays Master of Puppets. But there's memes out that say it's just like, okay, well, to all you brand new Metallica fans that are falling in love with them after seeing Master of Puppets on Stranger Things, you just need to know that their best album of all time is Saint Anger.
That's great.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just like all of the prisoners were allowed to do this, but the death row people weren't. Because they're fucking on death row.
Yeah.
And he like,
you're there for a reason, motherfucker.
Yeah, he pitched a fucking fit because he wanted to go out there and see Metallica. But the lesson here is, if you want to see Metallica, don't be a serial killer.
Yeah, there you go.
But so he gave the guards a magazine, because he was allowed to get magazine subscriptions in there, and he had a magazine with Metallica on the cover, and the mail tagged was Richard Ramirez at San Quentin.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave it to the guards to give to Metallica. I don't know what they did with it. It's not clear in the information. But Kurt Hammett said it's just like, okay, well, yeah, I was in San Francisco when I was in Exodus at the same time that he was there, and he's like, I wondered I'm wondering if we ever actually partied with Richard Ramirez during the time when he was in Exodus.
Yeah. Right before he was anybody.
Yeah, before he joined Metallica. So, what I was talking about earlier, about this other thing that just occurred to me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like he loved the name the Night Stalker. He's like, I'm the Night Stalker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the Night Stalker and I'm okay. I kill at night and I sleep all day. But serial killer Joseph James D'Angelo. This was a guy that fell off the radar for a long time, and then wound up getting caught due to like DNA evidence decades later. You know, similar to BTK, but you know, this guy didn't do that. He he was trying to stay low, but when he was caught, he was dubbed the original Night Stalker.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, because he was doing it. He was active before Richard Ramirez was.
Right.
So they named him.
That's fucking great.
Yeah. So
the original Night Stalker.
So they named him the original Night Stalker.
So he doesn't even get to have his name, dude. That's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
That is fucking badass, dude. Shit. Seriously.
Yeah, and we'll cover him at some point. Because that's a really interesting story too, especially how, you know, like after so many years and everything, he was arrested. It's just like he had gotten away with it and everything. Same thing with BTK, but BTK would have, you know, BTK brought it on himself when he finally got caught. This guy, he was, I mean, he's an old man. It's like he was born in 1945.
Oh, damn.
So he's, you know, so he'll die in prison.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's just, and they finally got him. I mean, he was arrested. You know, let's see. He was apprehended in 2018, and his last murder was 1986.
Oh damn.
He was from 1974 to 86, and so yeah, no, so he was still working during the time that Richard Ramirez was doing his thing, but he just he just like, okay, I'm done, and he laid low and he didn't do anything.
Wow. Yeah, dude.
So he would have gotten away with it, but DNA got him in the end. So that's just, so anyway, we're almost done. Yeah, he was a disgusting inmate to the end and everything. He would like flash the guards and all that stuff, and you know, yeah, he was just a disgusting piece of shit. He had health problems and everything, and he was taken from the prison to the hospital, and he had lymphoma, and he died in 2013 of lymphoma complications.
Oh.
So,
see, I didn't know that part. I just, you know, I just assumed that they fucking offed him.
Well, they would have, but I mean, it's like now they like to let these people, these dirtbags, like sit there and rot for a while.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, I'm kind of torn on the death penalty. It's like, you know, some people just fucking deserve to die, but other people, it's just like you just want them to sit away and just freaking rot, you know? It's just that in some cases that would be a much more like Luca Magnotta for example. I'm glad he didn't get the death sentence because they don't have it in Canada, but I'm glad he didn't get it because it's just like he has to sit there. He's just so devastatingly good looking, and he has to sit there in prison, and he was such a freaking narcissist, and it's like nobody's gonna know the greatness is Luca Magnotta. That, you know, that's fucking torture on him, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So no, I don't think that the death penalty for Luca Magnotta was necessarily, you know, I think that he suffered a far worse fate by, you know, doing life in prison.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you know, if you kill the killer, there's still the same amount of killers in the world. So,
right.
You know,
and the same thing with BTK. BTK thought he was such a fucking genius and all that stuff, and now, yeah, it's just like, and now he'll die in prison thinking about it and everything. And you know what? this didn't get. I had this written down in my notes and everything, but I didn't cover it because that episode was crashing and burning. There were like BTK. He would like always he was like a fucking Karen in prison. He's like always bitching. It's like, oh, I need to. He's like, you know. He's like complaining about inmates and everything, like they were bullying him and stuff like that, and blah blah blah. And at one point they made an announcement over the freaking loudspeaker, and it was like, "Would the inmates that are screwing with BTK please knock it off?" So yeah, him. No death penalty for him. You know, it's far worse. For him to sit there and rot in prison, you know.
Yeah, totally.
And then, but you get to somebody like Richard Ramirez and all that stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't have had the problem with it if they had actually, you know, executed him. But you know, but he still did die in prison.
Yeah. So there's some justice there.
Yeah. And just the fact that he would just how he got caught, and then the fact how Sean Penn and Metallica punked his ass, and then how he fucking gets the name that he loved so much taken away from him.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Now that happened after he died. But still, it's just like, okay, you don't even have the Night Stalker legacy anymore. There's this other guy who's like, okay, well, he's the original Night Stalker, you know. All right, so that is the story of the Night Stalker, which not the original Night Stalker, but
no,
the knockoff Night Stalker.
It's a knockoff. It's a dollar store Night Stalker.
Richard Ramirez. So. All right, we're going to wrap this up, and we're not sure which episode is going to be next week. So, we'll have something for you. Hopefully it'll be Joseph Paul Franklin.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Hopefully Joseph Paul Franklin comes out before this episode does.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I have faith in you. So it'll be, yeah. Okay, well, we don't know who's coming after Richard Ramirez, so...
yeah, we're working on that.
If you have suggestions, send the suggestions to our social media, like Facebook and Twitter, or you can send us an email at billzillaprod@gmail.com. And, yeah, if you have any suggestions, something that you want to hear, hell, I mean, do it. Send it in. We'll consider it. We'll put it on the list. And hell, it's like if you catch us before we've decided which one we're gonna do, we might do it like the week after you send it in.
Yeah.
So,
never know.
But in the notes for this page, for this episode, we're gonna post our website there, and that has links to everything like my original music, that I have the Spotify page, but it's also available on everything else, and also Todd's band.
Yeah.
You gotta tell them about it.
Do I have to? Isn't it on the website? No, yeah.
When there's free beer involved, then you gotta tell them.
Yeah. Yeah, so I played a band. It's called Retroactive Days. Find us on Facebook if you're ever in Brevard County, Florida, and we're playing somewhere near where you are. Come out and see us. Come up and say hi to me. I'm the bass player, but you should be able to tell that. Say hi to me. Tell me, say, hey, I listen to Crimes, Killers, Cults, and Beer, dude, and I'll buy you a beer, and we can sit down and have a beer together.
When they're taking breaks, because they play long sets.
Yeah. Well, I'll still be able to have a beer with you.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to take a break.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, all right. Well, I guess that wraps it up for us and everything. We're we're happy that you're listening. Thank you very much for doing that. And
absolutely.
Keep listening. If you love us, tell a friend. If you hate us, tell an enemy.
Yep, there you go.
So, anyway, until next week, whichever episode it winds up being after this one, hope you enjoy that one too.
Yeah.
And anyway, later.
Yep, cheers, everybody.